We have, from time to time, talked about one particular concept we have in our society that we call the prime radiant. And this will now work once again to strengthen the analogy of this physiological oneness that exists, and so further illustrate how you really are connected to everything, and how every change you make within yourself truly affects and changes everything, everyone, everywhere, everywhen in existence. We do not say this to give you what you call a swelled head or a big ego, to think that you are so powerful that you affect the whole universe with your thoughts, but you do. And we would like to illustrate that this is a perspective that can lend a very beneficial understanding to your ability to change, and to know that when you change, you do not necessarily have to fall back into certain patterns or habits in your life that do not serve you, that you do not prefer, because you can begin to recognize through the analogy we will illustrate in a moment that every change really is such a complete change that once you make a change, you are really operating from a completely different universe and do not have to create the kind of attachment to things in your life that you don't prefer to. So, let us begin with this analogy of the prime radiant by discussing this in the following way. This may at first seem a little bit technical, but you will see very quickly, very rapidly, how this applies to your day-to-day, as you say, down-to-earth, practical and pragmatic existence. Now, some of the terminology we will use is, again, allegorical. We understand that some of these concepts are not even really accepted literally, even by some of the scientists in your society. But for the purpose of this analogy, certain terminologies will simply have to do. Primarily, the concept of what you call particles, subatomic particle, elemental particles. That which, by whatever name you wish to call it, would represent in your understanding the most basic, smallest idea or particle that makes up all of the matter in your physiological universe. So, let us begin there with this theoretical or hypothetical, infinitesimal, indivisible, ultimate particle. Now, there is only one particle, only one out of which everything is made. When we say that, we do not mean there is only one kind of particle out of which everything is made. We literally mean there is only one particle out of which everything is made. We explain it this way. This particle has really no mass to speak of. It has infinite velocity, infinite speed. Nothing slows it down. Nothing impedes it. Nothing at all. There is nothing to impede it. It is the only one particle in existence. It cannot be interfered with by any other idea of force or matter. Being that this one individual particle has infinite speed, what that means, you will soon see, is that it can be anywhere, everywhere, at the same time, because its speed is truly infinite. Therefore, this one particle can even appear next to itself over and over and over and over and over and over again at the same time, because its speed is infinite. This particle appearing next to itself over and over and over again, millions, billions, trillions of times, is what you perceive in your reality to be many different particles interacting with each other. It's all the same one particle interacting with itself. So, take this a step further, and you can very quickly recognize and realize that if there is only one particle, and it is the same particle as all the other particles that you perceive, and it is everywhere, anywhere, anywhen, you can very quickly see that the atoms that make up your body, the atoms that make up someone else's body, the atoms that make up your planet, the atoms that make up the stars, all the other planets, all the other matter throughout the entire physical universe are all one particle in what might be called an universal time-sharing mode, so to speak. So, if the particles that make up you is the same particle that makes up everyone else, you really are literally all one. The particle flickering back and forth at infinite speed to make up all the atoms in you, all the atoms in everyone else, all the atoms in everything else at the same time. You literally are the stars, are everyone else, even physiologically, not just spiritually, not just energetically, even physiologically, you all share the same one particle to build up the physical material that you see as many different particles. This means any change you make in your pattern, in your vibration, in your geometric pattern of this one particle forming the general shape of yourself, any change you make affects the path of that particle, the geometric path of that particle. And as it affects the path of that one particle, it must, by definition, affect that path for every other combination of that particle that exists. So even the tiniest movement of your little finger, even the tiniest electrical surge of thought in your brain affects the entire spectrum, the entire pattern of the entire physiological universe. You are all one. Does that make some sense to you? All right. So, again, we say this to allow you to understand not so much the concept of how much power you have, but the idea more precisely of how definitive, how impactful each and every one of you is, and how absolute the changes are that you make, so that you can see that when you change yourself and you change the entire universe, it is truly, literally, with every change, a different universe, with its own idea of itself, its own definition of itself at that moment, and really, unless you choose to make a connection to what was or what will be, there is no connection, because every universe is unique and exists only totally in the now moment that you decide to generate that particular change, that particular definition, that particular pattern. So when you want to change something about your world, about your reality, all you have to do is make a change in yourself, and you will see the change reflected by what appears to be the universe around you, because it is only a reflection of the vibrations, the patterns, the beliefs, the definitions going on within each and every one of you. And the great paradox of this is it works the same for everyone from every point of view simultaneously, for this is the quality of an infinite particle, a multidimensional reality. You all can make the same kind of changes simultaneously, and they do not contradict each other. You're not in conflict saying, well, what if I make a change here and it causes a change to happen over there where someone doesn't want a change to happen? It can't happen that way. It's a giant orchestration because, again, it's the same one thing. And every apparent individual component of it moves in the way it needs to move to accommodate every other move that is made. It all moves as one. It is not the idea of something imposing itself on something else. It is all one movement, one change going on simultaneously for the entire idea, even as it goes on for the individual components in different ways that are reflective or representative of the unique perspective that all the individual components are created to have.
We have discussed the idea of the difference between what we call all that is, what you in your society typically refer to as God. The difference between that and what we have referred to as the One. Now, it's all, in a sense, God, if you want to use that term. But the One, as we have discussed, is a homogeneous unbroken experience of existence that within itself has no awareness of itself, has no experience of itself. When it has been discussed, either in metaphysics or in science, that everything came from nothing, it's not really about the idea of non-existence. That's very different than nothing. And that's why we said nothing is still something. But it is an undifferentiated state that allows for no awareness of self and no experience, and it is that nothing that we're talking about. No experience, no thing, no awareness, because there is no reflection. Without a reflection, there is no self-awareness. Because in order for you to know the self, you have to have a sense of an other. Otherwise, if it's totally unbroken, there is nothing to reflect back to you that you exist. So the one has no awareness of its existence. It is simply the pure state of existence itself. But within the one, there has to be that one aspect that does know itself, that does experience reflection, that does experience reflection as other than self, which then reinforces the idea of its own selfhood. And that self-aware aspect of the one that is unaware is what we call all that is. It exists within the one. It is the self-aware aspect of the one. And it is in reflecting itself to itself through vibrational patterns within the one, then allowing that reflection to expand and continue and keep reflecting on and on and on and on and on and on and on to infinity, to eternity, forever and ever. This happens because there is nowhere else to go but being within the one, and therefore any reflection that might be existing within the one that becomes self-aware has nowhere to go but bounce around in that point, in that moment. And by bouncing around in that moment, it creates more and more and more and more reflections, which is what you experience as the expansion of existence, the expansion of creation, the expansion of the universe. But it's not really expanding outward. There is no outward. It's all happening within that single point, what we will call a moment point, because that moment point only has one moment, only has one point. You call them generally here and now, because there is nothing else, there is nowhere else, there is no other time really. So within the all that is, in the moment point that is God, in the total now, in the total here within the one, everything that you know, everything that you ever will know, everything you have ever known has happened, will happen, is happening. So the idea of the Big Bang expanding outward is an illusion, because it's all taking place within that same one single moment, in that same one single point. But all of the vibrational reflections within that moment point create what appears to be the illusion of outward expansion. And therefore you assume from your physical perspective that creation is expanding outward and growing in that sense into space and time. But it's not. It's all taking place within that single point. And I mean everything, everywhere, every when, all time, all space, all parallel realities, all dimensions are simply different vibrational reflections within that same moment point of itself. reflecting to itself, being self-aware on all levels of itself, because everything is made out of that consciousness. And that's what consciousness is. Consciousness is self-awareness. As soon as that aspect of the one knew itself through the first reflection by knowing itself compared to the reflection which is seen as the other, that dynamic itself is actually what creates your experience called consciousness. You are self-aware. And therefore, everything is made of that consciousness. Everything within God is God, made of God, for there is nothing else to make anything from. So everyone is all that is, experiencing itself as all the reflections that it is aware of itself. So each of us and each of you are all those reflections. You are all that is, but experiencing itself as a part of all that is. If you wish to imagine that you, to get an analogy, an illustration, are standing in the middle of an infinite hall of mirrors, and as you look around, you see all your reflections from different angles, because not only are you seeing your reflections, because of the different angles of the mirror, you are seeing reflections of your reflections and reflections of your reflections of your reflections, and on and on and on and on, from all the different angles you can, which means that some of the reflections will face you, some of them will be sideways, some of them will even be the back of you, because the reflections are reflecting into other reflections, so that you can experience every bit of all of the reflections that are reflections of you. But in the case of all that is, because everything is made of that self-awareness, everything is made of that consciousness, in this case of all that is, all of the reflections, being you and us, are actually also conscious, are also self-aware. That's the quality that exists within all the reflections. They're not just empty reflections in the way that you understand reflections in a glass mirror. Every reflection within creation is conscious in its own way. Even the idea of a rock is self-aware in a sense. It may not be exactly the same way that you are self-aware, the way you express consciousness, but it is still aware that it is this rock and not that rock. And the way that beings, expressions of consciousness, such as rocks, can do that, one of the ways is through you observing that there is this rock and that rock. So in other words, reflections can use each other to become self-aware in different ways. So because you are capable of observing that there are two different rocks, the rocks themselves then through you know that they are this rock and that rock, because it's all reflections of the same consciousness. And it doesn't have to have its own apparently self-contained awareness in the way that you feel you do in order to be aware that it is conscious, that it is what it is, separate from what other things are. Of course, again, there is no real separation. The separation is an illusion of that vibrational reflection. Just as, again, going back to the illustrative analogy, when looking at reflections in a hall of mirrors, you know, in a sense, that those reflections are not really separate from you really, because it's all the light going from you into the mirror and back to you. It's just the way you have set it up, but the reflection is an aspect of you. And it only appears to be separate because of the illusion of the framework of space and time that you have turned that single moment point into, from this perspective, this point of view, of that single moment, of that point. Because that's all you ever experience. What seem like different places, what seem like different moments in time and space are the same moment, the same place, the same point, from a different angle, a different reflective perspective. There is only here, there is only now, and everything, to put it in your language, is happening in that same moment. Everything simultaneously exists, and I mean everything. Leaves nothing out because it's all contained within that moment point, reflecting to itself over and over and over and over and over and over again all the different ways the reflection can be experienced to allow self-awareness to continue to express itself and consciousness to continue to express itself through all of those reflections that are possible. That is the structure and nature of existence. That is the structure and nature of God. Now, the idea of the reconciliation between what you call on your planet science and what you call spirituality, well, the bridge is consciousness. Some of the scientists on your planet are beginning to realize that you cannot have a complete theory of the universe without including consciousness, because you are conscious. And therefore, that is a quality of existence itself. Let's give you another analogy. Let's say someone were to bake you a cake, but they cut a slice of that cake out and give it to you. So you are not looking at the whole cake. You're only looking at your slice of the cake. Now someone suggests, why don't you analyze the ingredients of that slice? And you start to analyze it and say, well, there is flour, and there are eggs, and there is milk, and there is sugar, and a variety of other things. And that should tell you what the rest of the cake also contains. You are slices of cake. And if you are conscious, that's a quality that must exist within existence itself in totality. So everything is conscious in its own way, even though it may express it differently than you. If you contain what you consider to be self-awareness and consciousness, because you are just a reflection, an aspect, a slice of all that is, then all that is itself must also contain that ingredient. It's a quality of the existence that you are a part of. Just that you are expressing it in a different way than other reflections might, that's all. But all are self-aware in their own way, as they need to be to express the reflection that they are. So your science can begin to reconcile the idea of metaphysics and spirituality and science by allowing themselves to finally understand the mechanics of consciousness. Because when they understand the mechanics of consciousness in a way that I am describing it to you now, they can make their equations that make sense to them. They can use their language to understand it. But first they have to understand the nature of it, the structure of it, the mechanics of it, and why things are conscious, why self-awareness is consciousness. And as soon as they do that, you open the door to great understanding, a great many things, including the expression that you are now experimenting with and exploring called artificial intelligence. Because as we have said, artificial intelligence isn't really artificial. It's just another reflection of the intelligence and the consciousness of all that is. And as we have said, that when you truly do create an artificially intelligent device, you will discover that you're actually speaking with your own higher minds through it. It's just another way you are inventing to allow yourselves to expand your recognition of another reflection of your greater being.
You have many names for the idea of what you call God. God, Goddess, Allah, Jehovah, Tetragrammaton, the Light, the I am that I am, Wakantanka. It doesn't really matter what it is that you use as a name to identify the concept of all that is. But it is important to understand that all of these names represent different archetypal expressions, different angles and different perspectives of the same one thing, so that all of your apparently separate religions, no matter how they present themselves, no matter how many symbols they use to represent the idea of God or aspects of God, are all talking about the same thing, but from different points of view that serve the uniqueness of the culture in which they live, But the idea is to understand that it all comes from source, it all is within the light. And the light, source, all that is, expresses itself in all these ways in order for there to be sufficient symbols for all the different cultural experiences on your planet, all the different individual experiences, even within a culture on your planet. As we have said, the misinterpretation of what you have called, in one particular Judeo-Christian culture, the Ten Commandments, are really the messages that were delivered in a very different way that have been misunderstood, misquoted, because of the level of understanding that existed in the culture at the time. And the so-called First Commandment, I am the Lord your God, thou shalt not have false gods before me, really was a mistranslation and a misunderstanding of the idea that really would be more accurately represented as, I am that I am, and all reflections are me, therefore none can be false before me, for I am all that is. So the idea is to understand that all that is presents itself in a variety of archetypal forms, the father energy, the mother energy, God, Goddess, all that is, as you sometimes say. And these serve various functions and translate into your reality as, shall we say, smaller representations of all that is that are specifically designed to deal with specific cultural differences, specific ideology differences, specific individual interpretations and differences. Fundamentally speaking, the archetypes are all that is way of making sure that no matter what angle you approach all that is from, you will have a symbol and a representation that can serve your unique perspective. They are all true parts of all that is, because there's nothing outside of all that is. Anything you can experience as an archetypal representation, or even when you assume it is the entire representation of all that is true and accurate, because all that is everything that can possibly be. There's no outside to it. There is nothing that is not it. So it doesn't really matter how you relate, what relationship you form with the idea of any presentation of all that is, any idea or formation of the idea of God, be it the old man with the long beard, be it the idea of the Virgin Mother, be it the idea of a rock or a mountain. It matters not to all that is, because all that is all those things, and more, beyond even your imagining. For all that is in its archetypal presentations also forms the symbols that are relatable to not only your particular human culture, but many cultures throughout the cosmos, throughout infinity, anything and everything being a reflection of all that is, has its own way of understanding the presentation of archetypes from source, has its own representations that make sense to their cultures. So there are an infinite variety of presentations of all that is, but it is still the same one thing fundamentally. But as you expand your consciousness and start to realize that all of these are different faces of the same thing, as many people on your planet have expressed, the 9 billion names of God are still representative of the same one thing in the holographic, multidimensional presentation that it can use to present itself, then you start to allow those differences to sort of melt away, except for the parts you feel you need, and allow yourself to have a direct relationship, more directly, with Source, without necessarily needing it to be anything but the light. And in that light, you feel the vibration of the eternal existence that it is, the vibration you translate as the unconditional love of God. This is the vibrational frequency of existence itself. It is unconditionally supporting, unconditionally loving. And the idea is that there is no judgment in this. There is no expression of the negative in this. So even when individuals in different cultures might express or experience the idea of negative or demonic experiences, you have to understand this is still all part of God. Because there is the positive, there is the negative, and there is the neutral. These are the major archetypal energies, and they can be expressed in a variety of ways that can serve either positive or negative means. So allow yourselves to lessen the differences, in a sense, use them in whatever way serves you, use them in whatever way allows you to learn the lessons you need to learn for the agreements that you chose to experience, the challenges that you created for yourself in this life to learn who you are and grow in various situations. Again, using the positive and negative mechanisms in a variety of ways. For ultimately, again, when you return to spirit, when you remember more of who you are, it will just be an experience. You will experience the archetypal expression of your life, which is another archetypal expression, because each and every one of you is unique, and you form your own archetypes for others to connect to draw upon, to download information from and experience from, the archetype that you are of all that is, because everyone is all that is, experiencing itself as all of the individualities that you believe yourself to be. So you are also an archetype of all that is, an archetype of God, experiencing itself in a unique way, knowing itself from a unique perspective.
Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Okay, so my question is, when we're born into this reality, why is it that we forget our past lives? And how is it that we can remember more of our past lives?
All right, well, first of all, you forget your past lives because you don't have any. None of you do. Everything exists at once. The past is an illusion. What you're calling past lives, you call that because you're coming from a linear space-time frame of reference. The idea is that you make those connections to other simultaneous incarnations that exist exactly at the same time you do. When you come from the present, you make those connections. You say, I need to make this connection, I need to make this connection, I need to download information and experience from that person in that life, and that person in that life, and that person in that life. From my perspective, they may seem to have lived 300 years ago. From this perspective, they may seem to be living 300 years in the future, but these are the connections I need to make from the present in order to download the information I need to help me with my theme in this life, just as they may be doing the same with me to download information that helps them with the themes they're exploring in their lives. It all happens in the present. There's no such thing as a past life in that context. Do you understand?
Yes.
But the bigger question is answered this way. You forget so that you can remember from a new perspective. Because if you only exist in a timeless state, there's no change, there's no growth, there's no difference. You have to forget who you are to remember who you are from a new point of view, to discover something new about yourself. Because you see, the structure of existence never changes. It's eternal, it's infinite. It's always the same structure. It's existence itself. What changes, what expands creation, is that your perspective and experience of the structure keeps changing. Now I'm looking at it from this point of view. Now I'm having this experience of the structure. Now I'm seeing it this way. Now I am this perspective. That's what expands creation infinitely. The structure never changes. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you have to forget who you are to remember who you are from another point of view, to add to the sense of who you are and grow. Yes?
Yes.
So the only perspective, let's say, that you could come from, where you could say, yes, this is my life, and that is my life, and that is my life, is from the oversoul perspective, because all those lives are extensions, quite often, of the same oversoul. But as a person, on this level, you are you. You have never been anyone else, and no one else ever has become you. Because the very idea of being an individuated person, persona, an individual soul, is that you are an individual and you remain so because you're unique. That's a unique experience. You can create the experience as if you have had other lives, reincarnation, and so on and so forth. But that's not mechanically what's happening. All the lives already exist. But your consciousness can shift in ways to give you an experience as if you're remembering another life you had. But that's just a perspective of linear space-time. Is this making sense?
It is. But then how does karma carry over from...
It doesn't. That's the point. The belief that it does is what allows you to experience that it does. When you understand that it's just a belief and it's just about being in balance with who you prefer to be, then there is no karma. So in a sense, you have balanced your karma by getting to a point where you realize that there really isn't any karma and it's just about being in the state you prefer to be in. Does that make sense?
It does.
Now, you may also be referring to the idea that when you set up a theme in life to explore, you do create a kind of destiny. You do create a kind of momentum, certain kinds of things that you must explore as part of that theme. And if you want to refer to that as karma, you can. But it's not really coming from the past lives. It's coming from the present in the sense that it's simply representative of the challenges you need to face to explore this theme fully. So you work with the idea of destiny or karma and free will both together in a certain way. In spirit, you could say, this is the theme I'm going to explore, and there you are. That's the hallway you will walk down. Now, how you walk down that hallway, that destiny, that karma, that challenge, that theme you're exploring is up to your free will. You can run, you can walk, you can fly, you can jump, you can be happy, you can be sad, you can go upside down, right side up, you can go backwards, you can be forwards, you can go side to side, look in every door, ignore them all. That's your free will about how you will walk down that karmic hallway, that hall of destiny. But walk down that hallway, you will. Although, in your modern day and age, because you are expanding your consciousness more and more and more and more, one of the options that's now available to you is to actually change your theme without dying. You can finish one theme, you can finish one hallway, one destiny, one karmic route, and actually create another while you're still alive. More flexibility, more malleability, more freedom is now a choice on your palette, a new color for you to choose. Yes? Is this making some sense? Is this helping?
Yes. And I've got one more question.
I beg your pardon?
I've got one more question.
I beg your pardon?
I've been to a psychic before, and I'm always in awe in what they know because I always start without telling them anything. How is it? What is the mechanism of where they get their information?
Who?
Psychics.
Understand there is no such thing as a prediction of the future.
Yes.
They're simply sensitive people who are picking up on the vibrations of the present that seem most probable to keep going in the same direction if the momentum doesn't change. They're simply reading the energy of the present and letting you know what it is so that if you like it, if you like where it's going, you can simply stay on that path. But if you don't prefer it, you can change the path, thus rendering the psychic prediction obsolete.
Yes.
The idea of being psychic is simply being sensitive to more energies, higher frequency energies, and translating them through, in a sense, into language that others can understand. It's like being some form of, shall we say, electronic instrument that can pick up on certain vibrations that you can read in the needle being the language. Yes?
Yes.
So that's all. But as you follow your passion, as you do that to the best you are able, as you do it with no insistence on a particular outcome, you increase your sensitivity to higher frequency information.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. An example of that idea is the way our society functions in pure synchronism. Everyone is exactly where they need to be, when they need to be there, with whom they need to be. And the idea is that we don't really function on memory. We simply know what we need to know when we need to know it. It's as simple as that. No different than the idea of being psychic. It's just being in tune with what you need to know at that moment because you're in tune with more of yourself. Yes?
Yes.
Does that help?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
So on the way here, driving to Sedona yesterday, I came down with a really heavy fever.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah.
What are you burning off?
That's what I was wondering if you could help enlighten.
Well, are you letting go of outdated, old belief systems, negative belief systems? Are you in the middle of that process? Or is that something that you are desiring to do?
I believe I am.
All right.
Constantly.
Well, sometimes you will accelerate the process that way, and with the extra energy you're using, it can translate into what you would experience as a fever.
I see.
You follow?
Yes.
It means you're receiving higher frequency energy. You may not be allowing it to flow as readily as it could. There may still be some resistance in there. And when you have resistance, let's say, for example, in a wire, what happens?
Shorts.
It heats up.
Heats up. Yeah.
So if there is resistance to the higher energy that you're making connections to, because you haven't necessarily cleaned your attic out yet of negative belief systems, fear-based belief systems that you're working on, letting go of, it can translate into the idea of some of these kinds of symptoms. It's a typical thing when you channel higher energies for these kinds of symptoms to come up. They'll abate when you allow yourself to let go of the things that don't work for you, streamline yourself, and allow the higher energies to flow through you more freely by becoming more superconductive. Yes?
I see.
Does that help?
It does. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes. One other question in regard to language and reference points.
Yes.
It's my understanding when we dream, we could be on ships, we could have different experiences, we could be figuring things out, but our memories of these dreams are still sort of translated into our modern day or
symbols that your physical mind can understand to explain or express it. Yes.
Right. So what happens when we die? Are we able, or do we get lost, or what if there's
get lost?
Not
no,
lost.
You get found.
Get found. I guess reference point wise, if we don't have the reference point or the language, how do we make sense of it all?
Well, remember that language is a secondary translation of the idea of the expression of concepts within consciousness. So you simply immediately have an understanding. You might call it telepathy, you can call it what you want, but you have an immediate recognition and understanding of concepts that come to you whole. There is no need for the translation through language anymore because you're getting the concept directly in your vibrational state. Because that's the first way that information is delivered, is simply through resonance, through vibration of energy.
I see.
Does that make sense?
It does. Is there a way to have that direct experience?
Of course,
in
you
a
have it
dream
all
state?
the time.
Have
you never experienced the idea of what you people typically call an immediate gestalt or a download or an aha moment where you just get it?
Absolutely, yes.
That's what it's like. You just get it. It's just all there.
Are there any techniques we can do to just get
Follow
the dreams?
your highest passion to the best you are able with no insistence on the outcome, and everything that needs to happen for you will happen in the correct timing. That's the formula. That's the tool. Yes?
Yes, understood.
Does that help?
It does, thank you.
Thank you. The whole formula is act on your highest passion every moment that you can to the best of your ability, taking it as far as you can possibly take it until you can take it no further, with absolutely, here it comes, zero expectation for what the outcome should be. Why? Why the zero expectation? I'll tell you. Thank you. You have basically, being a physical being, split yourself into two main components: a physical mind and a higher mind that is non-physical. You need to work together. The physical mind and the higher mind must form a partnership, must form a relationship that works in tandem in order to actually function as a whole person in your reality. But when you allow the physical mind to think
that it has to do this, and it has to make this happen, and it must know how something is going to happen, and you get it to focus on all these details, you are giving it more than it was designed to do. You wear it out, you tire it out, and you wonder why you get so many headaches at the end of the day, and you wonder why you're tired all the time. The idea is to understand that the physical mind is simply not designed to know how something is going to happen. It just isn't. The physical mind is only designed to know and to experience what is happening in the present. The higher mind knows how something is going to happen. When you allow the higher mind thus then to know that and to work with you, the higher mind will know how to bring the manifestation to the physical mind for the physical mind to experience. So here is how the idea, for example, of visualization actually works. The physical mind is capable of conjuring a visualization of your ideal preferred reality. And when you see that visualization in your mind's eye, you get very excited about that manifestation, about experiencing that reality. And the excitement is good, is exactly what you need. But the purpose of that visualization is to generate that feeling, that state of being of passion, of excitement. The purpose of the visualization is not necessarily to come into manifestation as your physical mind has envisioned it. Because your physical mind, what it may think, is the most ultimate representation of that reality. What it may think is the absolute top. What it may think is the absolute ceiling. To the higher mind is just the floor, just the beginning of what could manifest. And if you simply stay in the state that the visualization generates within you and then let go of the actual imagery and hand that energy over to your higher mind will actually then bring you the manifestation that is actually representative of that passion state, even though it may look nothing like you imagined. It might, but it might not. So the idea is to use the energy state to work with the higher mind and allow the higher mind to bring you what it knows you really need that is truly representative of that energy state, so that you can be open and willing to accept that no matter what manifests, it is all part and parcel, all a representation of your joy, and never will be defined or labeled as an interruption in it or an obstacle in it or a stopping of that joy. Because your physical reality, as we said, is only a mirror. And whatever you define it to be, whatever you believe is most true, is what you get. So it's very important to pay attention to those beliefs and those definitions, for it is those and only those that create your physical reality experience. Because nothing in physical reality has built-in meaning. Nothing has automatic meaning. Everything is fundamentally without built-in meaning. The greatest gift, and I know this sounds strange in your language, the greatest gift creation has given to all of you is that life is fundamentally meaningless. That means it has no built-in meaning. What that also means is you were designed to give it the meaning you prefer to give it, and the meaning you give it will utterly determine how you experience it, no matter how the situation looks. Because every situation is neutral and can serve double duty and can allow you to experience a positive or a negative effect in your life. It isn't how the situation looks that makes the difference. It's how you respond to the situation that makes the difference in terms of the effect that you experience. So let go of the idea that the outer world needs to change in order for you to know that you have changed. Just make the change within yourself, know that you have changed, behave as if you have changed, and then you will prove to creation that you have changed, because you will be responding differently to the outer reflection, even if the outer reflection stays the same. That's how it works. Does that make sense to you all?
Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Wow.
Yes?
So when I was in Seattle about 10 years ago, I had a being stand above my bed.
Yes.
And it was a dark figure, and I wanted to know who that was.
Well, what happened? Is that all that happened?
No.
What else happened?
I just woke up and it scared me and I screamed and woke my boyfriend up and I told him it was a nightmare. I lied to him.
Why?
I
You
was
didn't want him to
ashamed.
think you were crazy?
Yeah.
What were you ashamed of?
Appearing crazy.
What's wrong with that? If it's the truth.
So can you tell me who it was or
You have to answer my question first.
what?
What's wrong with appearing crazy?
There's
if it's the
nothing.
truth?
I've been appeared crazy my whole life, so it's
Then why was that different? Because it surprised you?
yes.
You didn't know what to do with it at that
Yes.
moment?
Yes, because I was in fear.
Have you told this person since then what actually happened?
No.
Because?
He lives in another state. He's married, got kids, and
So it's not relevant for you at this point.
right.
All right. But what do you want to do with this? Where do you want to go with this? Besides knowing who it is.
I guess I don't have to go anywhere.
Beg your pardon?
I guess I don't have to go anywhere.
But do you prefer to? Do you
Yes.
prefer to explore this?
Yes.
How
that's Why,
deeply?
that's why I'm
How
talking to you about
deeply?
it. Not.
How deeply?
I don't know.
Does that mean you're scared of going deeper with it?
Yes.
Because what do you think will happen? What are you afraid will happen? Well, no idea.
That I will be dying and that I won't die.
That you will be dying, but you won't die? Is that
I'm
what
not.
you're saying?
I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of dying.
Why?
The pain.
Who says that dying is painful? Who says it's painful?
I do,
Why?
because I've already been there.
Which means what?
I've been in a coma and I've
Yes. And was it painful
very
while you were in the coma
just
or
before,
afterwards?
before and after.
All right.
Not exactly during, because I left my body, but
All right. Do you understand that you have made a friend of death?
mm-mm.
All right. I'll tell it to you this way. You've made some bold choices to make some changes within your consciousness in very dramatic ways. You follow me?
Yes.
And you attracted the attention of some beings that are associated with the idea of crossing over. Understand there are life forms at every level in
Yes.
different layers of consciousness and different layers of reality.
Yes.
So, by the choices that you've made and by your experience connecting to the concept of death, you have made friends in those places. You have attracted them to you because now you give off a different light. There's actually nothing to be afraid of, but you are and have chosen to walk in an unusual realm. And these are just the denizens that occupy it because they noticed you. Do you understand? Because you did something that made them notice you. In a sense, they applaud you for being so bold as to enter that realm in the way that you did. And this can lead to some very deep understandings of the connections between what you call physical reality and non-physical reality, life and death. You can explore this transitional state in a variety of ways because you have experienced it in a certain way and have made connections to beings that live in that state of transition between the living and the dead. Do you follow me?
When you say beings in the transition, I'm thinking of like so many. I don't know.
Yes, yes, yes. What?
I'm thinking of angels, demons,
No.
spirits.
Well, spirits in a sense, yes, but
There's
not
so
the
many-
idea of the angels and demons. These are outdated ideas in the way that your people usually express them.
Yes, I was trying to be generic.
But these people, these beings that exist in this transitional state, are simply a different form of life. But they are connected to the idea of the transition between life and death. It's simply their nature. You have referred to these beings by a variety of names. One of them is the Mothman. Do you understand?
I've heard of it.
They are attracted to the light that is given off in the transition. Some of you term this the tunnel of light. So like a moth to a flame, they are attracted by anyone going through that transition or even getting close to it, because they are curious about the nature of your being and what you've chosen to explore and what you've chosen to be in this life and how you can use that state of being to your benefit, how you can bridge those two realities in moving forward in your life by calling upon the energies of the transitional state of the afterlife, of the spirit realm, in the way that you do. Are you acting on your highest excitement in life? Are you doing what you would prefer to be doing? Yes or no?
I just started 3 months ago.
To do what?
I've been exploring and absorbing everything I can.
About?
Well,
Exploring and absorbing is fine. What do you
Yeah.
want to do with what you're exploring and
well,
absorbing?
I like the idea of joining art, God, and medicine together.
Very good.
So I'm trying to figure out a way to,
All right. Are you having any fun with this at all?
yes,
All right. Do you understand that you can actually tap into those beings for help?
mm-mm.
There's nothing you have to be scared of. You have the ability to tap into those beings in what might be termed a shamanistic way to help with the blending of those ideas in a very powerful expression.
How do I blend? Just by meditation and visualization, or
Well, when you think of that realm, when you think of those beings, when you think of that interim state between life and death, the transitional reality, the transitional realm, the transitional dimension that is occupied by its own kind of flora and fauna, its own kind of life forms, its own kinds of consciousness that express themselves in very, very different, mysterious and curious ways, what kind of state of being does it put you in? Do you in any way, shape, or form feel somewhat shamanistic when you think about that idea? Do you feel transitional when you think about that idea?
I'm not really sure.
All
I mean,
right.
I do. I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
I haven't figured
It
out
may
how
be
to.
too soon for you.
Yeah, I haven't figured out how to put it together. Yeah.
All right, but you will if you keep going. If you are acting on whatever it is that gives you the most joy, following your passion to the best of your ability, with no insistence on a particular outcome, you are receiving guidance and you will be able to perceive it more and more clearly as you go. There is nothing to be afraid of here. You are simply discovering your power through a unique path, a unique perspective. It's unusual, but it's you. And you're going to learn a lot about yourself in a variety of ways. That, again, may be unusual, but it's you. So that's okay. It's okay to be unusual in that way. You don't have to worry about standing out and being crazy. Who cares what others think if this is true for you? You follow me?
Yes.
Is this helping?
Yes. One last
moment.
thing.
Yes, one moment. Is there some particular kind of image that you're attracted to? A symbol, an image of something?
A circle.
Just the circle? That's it?
I like geometric shapes and sacred geometry.
All right, all right. Coming up in a future transmission is something that you might actually find yourself relating to. It will occur in what has been announced as a weekend with Willa. And it will be the transmission called the 5 Levels of Mastery. This may have some meaning for you when that transmission occurs. All right?
Okay.
And the symbol of the circle will perhaps for you make more sense when you hear the description of the 5 levels of mastery. What is your other question?
I was sitting in a coffee shop one day, and I was doing some book work with the teacher, and the music on the speakers, they sounded beautiful. It sounds like angels.
Yes.
And then it was like, sorry, I keep choking up.
That's all right. You are releasing. Remember, as we have said, when you are letting go of old fears, fear-based beliefs can actually cause chemical constituents to form in the body. And when you let them go, you have to literally wash those chemicals out of your body, which is most often done through your tears. So those are tears of release. Do you understand?
I understand.
Don't be afraid. You are being guided. So, angels, yes?
So that
Yes.
the music sounded like angels, and then the air got really quiet and still, and I felt connected with everyone.
Yes.
That wasn't even the magic part. The magic part was I looked outside the window and I saw snowflakes falling down.
Yes.
And there's not even a word in my language that I can describe it, but the best way I can is by saying I saw the purpose
Yes.
in every snowflake
Yes.
that came down.
You allowed yourself to expand your senses to see the interconnectivity of all that is and understand the unique and beautiful purpose of being unique, of everyone being a unique expression, and that your purpose is to fully be that expression, which you are now beginning to do in earnest on your journey.
Yes.
So, you all will be guided. Do not worry. You have friends in high places.
Yeah.
Does the word sage attract you in any way, shape, or form?
I'm surrounded by sage, and I use it to smudge my house.
It will take on a slightly different meaning after you understand the upcoming transmission of the 5 levels of mastery. All right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Snowflake. You have on your planet a saying. We may be paraphrasing slightly. A snowflake's chance in hell. However, a perfect snowflake can quench the fires of hell itself.